This is Yesteryear, written by Craig A. Falconer. Chapter 1. If there's a prize for Sister of the Year, I think I have it in the bag. Paula Frederick, it'll say, Sister of the Year. We haven't even boarded the Bullet sub yet, but my little brother Rob is already giddy for everything that lies ahead. He's never been to Dream Rock, the world's grandest leisure destination, and with the prices they charge for admission, I think he probably never thought he'd have the chance. The Dream Rock amusement park covers the entirety of what we used to call Brown Island. Back in the day, it was a prison colony, and then it kind of went to ruin. It's pretty cool that it's only a few hours from our house, and judging by all the foreign languages filling the air around us, I'd say it's pretty obvious that most people are coming from a lot further away. So how come I can afford 2 tickets to Dream Rock? Let alone the ex-VIP tickets we have today. Well, I can't. But I hit the lottery with a weekend internship working on robotics in the island's yesteryear zone. And last week, I just so happened to win one award that does exist. Employee of the Month. Some of the others weren't too happy that an intern could win it. But I did come up with a solution to a problem with one of the robot horses that was threatening to derail a big part of the Show for the Ages spectacular that happens every night at 7 p.m. I've already been offered a full-time job, but I still have 2 years left of college, so I'm not going to take it. Not yet. Every Saturday and Sunday morning, I drive to the coast and board the underwater train for Dream Rock. Until today, I've always taken the regular train. You see, the Bullet sub doesn't start running until the park opens, and that's no use for getting me there in time to start my shift. Today, though, I'm not working. Today, I can finally ride the Bullet sub. It doesn't matter that buying a seat on this amazing ride costs almost as much as a regular ticket to the whole park, because a free ride is another one of the perks of being an extra VIP. I can hardly believe how big the line is given how much it costs, but I guess if people are going to travel halfway around the world to get here, they think it's worth splashing out for the full experience. Both of the trains travel through tunnels. That sounds obvious, but some people seem to think the bullet train is actually in the water. I guess that's partly down to some genius marketing, which is a common theme at Dream Rock, but some of it is down to just how great the engineering is. That's another common theme for sure, because I don't think it's any exaggeration to say that a lot of what goes on at Dream Rock represents the absolute peak of human achievement in engineering as well as robotics. There's a very strict no photography policy on the Bullet sub, so even I don't know exactly what we're going to experience. Rob is talking my ear off with his ideas, which mostly come from blogs and online review sites. I've been told by management that the experience is slightly different every time, though, so he's in for some surprises. And besides, the thrill of a ride is in the riding. A roller coaster is fun even when you can see the loops coming, and we can't even see what's ahead of us. All I know for sure is that the Bullet sub travels through a glass tunnel, kind of like the shark tunnels we all know from aquariums, whereas the standard train goes through a run-of-the-mill concrete tunnel. A cynic might think there's going to be some virtual reality trickery coming our way and that we might be in a concrete tunnel after all. Those same cynics think the same about the Show for the Ages, though, and I know for a fact our robots are real. One of the core principles of Dream Rock is that everything you see is real. Everything you see is really there. We have actors, we have robots, we have architecture and set design that would blow most Hollywood blockbusters out of the water. What we don't have are any special effects or VR experiences. Not a one. Knowing this makes me excited to see just what the engineers have managed to pull off down here. I guess thinking about that instead of just looking forward to a cool ride might make me a nerd, but I also guess you might have picked that up from the whole being a third-year robotics student who brought her 12-year-old brother as her +1 thing. But hey, I'm here, getting ready to board the most expensive amusement ride in the world with a happy kid who's looking at me like I hung the moon. So yeah. Maybe sometimes the nerd wins. Scared yet? Rob asks as we're called forward from the front of the line. I laugh. Not yet. We walk down some steps with another few dozen people, then take our seats in a narrow cylindrical train. I say train because that's what they call it, not because anything about this actually evokes a railway carriage. The walls are black, which I definitely didn't expect, and the harsh overhead lighting makes me think of a dentist's office. Once we're all sitting down on the bench-style rows of 8 seats, our individual restraints come forward over our shoulders and click into place. They're the kind of restraints you get on a roller coaster that either goes upside down or really, really fast, as opposed to the more basic stomach bar restraints you get on gentler rides. For a simple ride that goes in a straight line, this seems like it could be overkill. But we are at Dream Rock, so I should know better than to think there aren't some surprises in store. There are 2 safety attendants on board, both dressed as old-timey train conductors. Every worker at Dream Rock wears a full uniform to add to the immersive visitor experience. Since I work with the robots in yesteryear, I have to dress in an outfit too. I'm not too hot on it, since it makes me look like something between a wench from a tavern in a fantasy TV show and a spinster who really needs to sew herself a clean dress. But it is what it is. If that's the price of getting to tinker with the best robots in the world and build up my resume in the best way possible, I'm all for it. Rob is dressed up in his own yesteryear garb already, which in his case is an off-the-shelf costume my dad bought online from a company that runs Renaissance fairs. He asked me if I would wear mine, and he asked in that earnest kind of childlike way that makes embarrassment an insufficient reason to say no. I'm not wearing it yet, at least, but I'm going to pick it up from my locker just before the big show at 7 p.m. That show takes place in yesteryear, which is the last zone we're visiting, so I'm glad it's working out like that. Wearing my shabby wench outfit in the tech world and beach blowout zones would have been too much, I think, even though Rob has no such concern. He's way past old enough to be self-aware, but he still doesn't seem to care what other people think. That's one thing we could all learn from kids, I suppose. The conductors firmly reiterate the no photography rule and tell us to get ready for the ride of our lives. At the touch of a button, the bullet sub slowly and silently moves forward, and as soon as it does, the silence dies. I don't know what I hear first, my gasp or everyone else's. The walls of the train were never black at all. The walls of the bay at the station were black. Our walls are the most perfectly clear glass I've ever seen, and when I say perfectly clear, I truly mean it. The ocean is literally all around us. If I reached up, I would be able to touch the glass ceiling, and it's so clear that I feel like I could touch the fish swirling overhead. I have no idea how thick the glass is, but I'm genuinely awestruck by just how clear it is. We're still barely moving, and as I look around, I see that the crystal-clear views owe a lot to the excellent lighting on the sea floor. For all the world, it feels like we're in the water, in some kind of bubble. We are, in effect, a bubble of scientific genius and engineering marvel. But it all just feels so real, immediate, immersive. Immersive is the word for everything at Dream Rock, but nowhere more than here. As the seconds tick by and we pick up some speed, it gets clearer and clearer that the promise of the ride of our lives was no exaggeration. A huge shark begins stalking us and then rams into the glass. I can't pretend I'm not shocked by the force of the impact and how much it shakes us, even though I know it's a robot. Rob squeezes my hand, scared for the first time, and he asks me if this is part of the show. I think about saying no, to make it even more fun for him, but he's scared enough that I reassure him instead. But when the colossal robotic shark headbutts us again, that's when I start having second thoughts. Because that's when the water starts dripping in. Chapter 2. "Please remain seated," a conductor says, as though we could get out of these restraints even if we wanted to. I look around. People are frightened, like really frightened. There are no other kids that I can see. 12 was the minimum age, so Rob just sneaked over the line, and I'm starting to wish he hadn't. "We're going to hurry to the arrival dock," the conductor continues, "so please brace yourselves." At the tap of another button, we shoot forward. The rush is exhilarating, but I'm too concerned about the drip, drip, drip of water to enjoy it. "Stop!" the other conductor booms. The one in control hits a button to halt us. As we slow, I see 4 more sharks, but this time they're not around us or above us like the first. This time they're in a threatening formation directly ahead of us. "They're robots," I tell Rob. "Don't worry." He nods. "Yeah, big sharks don't swim together like that," So rational for a kid, I think to myself. I study the conductors for tells. They're acting worried, but maybe they're just good actors? It would make sense for the best actors to be here, in the most expensive and exclusive ride at the whole park. The water is still dripping in, which I'm still naturally worried about, but I don't think the conductors would have stopped here to continue the show if there was any real problem. All of a sudden, incredulous gasps fill the train once more. Rob's is loudest of all. While we're facing down the sharks who are blocking our path, a colossal sea monster appears behind them. I don't know enough about myths and monsters to say what it is, but it looks more Kraken than Loch Ness Monster. With one effortless movement of a giant tentacle, it grabs hold of the sharks and tosses them into the distance. It faces us down for a moment, then swims over our heads. The darkness of the monster's shadow is remarkable, but nothing compared to the detail of its skin as it passes by. The fleshiness is striking, especially compared to the metallic horses I've worked on in yesteryear. And I say the monster passes by, but it actually covers the whole of the carriage and stops. This is the best robot I've ever seen, and I kind of wish I was working here instead of in yesteryear. I mean, the horses are cool, but a sea monster? Sign me up. The monster stops moving with the train enveloped in darkness, which brings the cold overhead lights from earlier back into business. The lights let us see what it's doing, patching up the damage the shark caused where the water has been coming in. Wow. I know it's not actually fixing it because I'm now sure there was never any damage and the drips were engineered to seem like they were coming from outside, but I'll be damned if it isn't convincing. The monster leaves as soon as it's done, dashing off into the distance. "I'm very sorry about all of this," the conductor says. "We'll get you to Dream Rock in no time, but since your journey so far has been disrupted, let's start again." I expect us to move backwards, which would be cool enough, but no. The geniuses behind the bullet sub have something else in mind. We move forward for a few seconds until forward becomes upwards. The rail, somehow hidden, takes us upside down like a classic roller coaster. Only instead of coming down the loop in a circle, we keep going upside down. We go all the way back to the start, which takes around 20 seconds at what feels like Mach speed, and then we're right way up again and ready to shoot forward. Some people applaud this remarkable surprise and the remarkable physical sensations it brought, but others look fit to barf. I turn to Rob, hoping to see a smile. "You're the coolest sister ever!" He beams, panting in exhilaration. He's probably still smiling when we shoot forward at the fastest speed yet, but we move so fast that my head shakes a little bit, and his does too. We move further than last time, but we also move even faster than we did on the loop back, so it takes around the same time. This time we reach our destination without any interruption. We emerge from the water into a dock at an above-ground station. The rail takes us up an elevated track until we stop at a spot with an utterly incredible view of the whole island. Everyone in the carriage gasps all over again, this time taking in the scale and wonder of everything this remarkable place has to offer. "Welcome to Dream Rock," the conductor says, pressing a button that causes the glass ceiling of our cylinder to recede into a previously discreet recess. I can hear various kinds of music playing low in the distance, providing a perfect backdrop to the hubbub of excited visitors. As everyone starts filing out, Rob steps towards one of the conductors with a question. "Say, mister, was all of that supposed to happen? You seemed pretty scared when the water started dripping." "I'll give you 2 tips to enjoy your day on Dream Rock, kiddo," the man replies with an evasive smile, winking at Rob as he speaks. "Remember that nothing is fake, and always expect the unexpected." Chapter 3. I've had good days that seem to pass quickly, but nothing like this. Rob has been having the time of his life since we stepped into the bullet sub, and it feels like every minute has brought another gasp of wonder. It's really the first chance I've had to wander around the island, too, since my work is always in the yesteryear zone, and there's never enough time on my breaks to see much else. I say wander around, but to be honest, we've been on a pretty set route from the minute we got here. Rob has the official DreamRock app on his phone and has been using it to move as efficiently as possible between the attractions he highlighted as his must-sees. I'm less of a planner, but I don't mind. It's his day. His birthday is in a couple weeks, so this timing worked out well, but I would have given him my second ticket anyway. When DreamRock opened for business, it was a huge deal, especially with us living so close by, and Rob did a big school project on it. He knows all about the island's dark history as a site for executions, and later for quarantining, aka abandoning, people who had diseases they didn't understand yet. Rob got really into the supposedly mystical nature of the island, too. For a long time before DreamRock came to be, Brown Island was a mecca for hippie types who talked about some kind of vortex and said they experienced odd sensations. A lot of boat tours used to come and land out here, day trips for people with more money than sense, I'd say, and the package always came with stuff like chakra readings and whatever else they were into. There's an old guy called Chuck Baskins who got especially famous talking about that stuff, and if I tell you his name is the least crazy thing about him, then you'll probably start to get some idea. Baskins campaigned to block development on the island because he said it was a unique focal point of energy fields we don't yet understand. But money talked, like always, and DreamRock is now a focal point for the most advanced technologies on Earth. Rob is majorly into science, even more so than I was at that age, but his mind is a lot more open to mystical stuff than mine is, or ever was. I believe what can be observed, and I'm sure he'll come around to that way of thinking in his own time. Whenever I get home and see him reading a book about time travel or energy fields, I don't tell him to put it down because I don't believe what's inside. I'm just happy he's not killing brain cells on the stuff most other boys his age are doing. Through all the fun of the day, I know that what he's been looking forward to most is time traveling back to the world yesteryear. We didn't have a lunch. We can't waste time eating twice, as Rob wisely said, but we grabbed dinner in one of Astro City's space-themed restaurants at 5 p.m. This is peak time, but our table is reserved and we've already ordered in advance, so everything runs smoothly. The planetarium dining experience is incredible, and I don't mind that I have to keep reminding Rob to eat his Martian meatballs before they get cold. Even I can hardly keep my eyes down, and I'm not as obsessively interested in space stuff as he always has been. We get out just before 6 p.m. and follow Rob's map to his highlights of yesteryear. The highlight is the 7 p.m. show in the amphitheater, where we have primo seats just like in the restaurant, but his pre-planning means we have time to see a few things en route. This is the part of the island I am familiar with, since I work here every weekend and often have to walk around just checking the robots are all functioning properly. To be clear, there's no chance of a robot ever posing any kind of danger to visitors. They all have collision detection and automated shutdowns, as well as all kind of easily accessible overrides. My job is to make sure everything looks smooth and that no robotic elements of the park ever malfunction in any way, however small, that might break the immersion. Things do go wrong from time to time, but we always fix them quickly. My favorite work is on the horses, because I always loved the idea of having a horse when I was growing up. They were way too expensive, obviously, so it kind of feels like the next best thing. There are 2 real horses and 2 robots in our show. Even though I don't get to interact with the real ones, I'm closer than I would have been if I didn't get this internship. 15 minutes before showtime, we make our way to my locker, where I change into the outfit I'm usually so glad to get out of. Maddie, one of the full-time workers who wasn't too pleased about my Employee of the Month victory, snickers and rolls her eyes when she sees me getting into my uniform on my day off. Another girl whispers something as she walks by, which sets Maddie off giggling in my direction even more loudly than before. "Paula, you don't have to wear it," Rob says. He sees Maddie sneering and he gets it. It's not like he's 5. Like I said earlier, he's old enough to be self-aware, but still doesn't usually care. He's definitely not embarrassed by my outfit. I'm wearing it at his request, after all, and he was smiling at how authentic it looked until he saw my face turn red when Maddie butted in. I shake my head. "I know," I tell him, "but I want to." We don't spend all that much time together, and I don't have a lot of experience with teachable moments, but this feels like one. "Rob, if we want to do something that doesn't hurt anyone else, we do it," I say. "And if someone else wants to act all too cool for school and make fun of it, we don't just do it anyway, we do it with an extra spring in our step. Now, Would thee care to take thy seat for the evening's extravaganza? He smiles, almost as wide as when we finish the loop of the bullet sub. With a springeth in mine step. We step inside. The amphitheater is a remarkable arena with a huge domed ceiling. Nothing is necessarily fully accurate to any one era, but there are throwbacks to all kinds of entertainment forms. The domed ceiling itself contains a remarkably detailed mural depicting gladiatorial battles, freak shows, modern circuses, and much more. I've never seen the whole show for the ages, and I've never seen any of it from the visitor seating, just the jousting part from ground level. I don't even know what happens during the other parts, but I sit down ready to expect the one thing Dream Rock always throws up: the unexpected. Chapter 4. Let me tell you, Dream Rock is not overselling this show in the ads that make everyone want to come. It really is one for the ages. I can't remember the last time I laughed, gasped, or gawped so much. From the gladiatorial fights to the vaudevillian shenanigans, it's the best kind of sensory overload. Needless to say, my personal highlight is the 4-way jousting contest. We have a real horse ridden by a human, a real horse ridden by a robot, and then 2 robot horses ridden by one of each kind of rider. So 2 humans, 2 horses, 4 robots. Until I saw the sea monster, I thought our hyper-realistic horses were the most impressive robots in existence. And I have to say, I still think they're pretty cool. We mix things up so the result isn't always the same, but on the nights when any of the teams containing a real horse or human rider win, it's because we've programmed the double robot team to let them. Tonight's victor was a human rider on a robotic horse. The robotic horses and riders are a deliberately unfinished silver color, so it's immediately obvious who is who, and it sounded like most of the audience was rooting for the double robot team. That tells you a lot about Dream Rock, I think. The whole place is a human creation, as is every little thing in it. But that creation is so good that the human guests are rooting for the robot competitors. There's an early 1900s-style magic show up next, and this is the last big surprise I have in store for Rob. I've called in a favor backstage to make sure he's picked as the night's volunteer. When the magician calls him forward, Rob turns to me excitedly to seek permission. I tip my head to encourage him, and he's off without a second look. The magician asks his name and introduces him to the crowd with some good-natured jokes, then proceeds to cut him in half. Well, not really, but it's a well-done variation of the familiar trick. And since we're on Dream Rock, there's a twist in the tale, with Rob's bodiless legs reaching down from their platform to touch the ground. The cube they were dangling from then opens at the top, and a robotic upper body emerges. The robot, wearing trousers that look passably like Rob's, walks around and waves to the crowd before getting the real Rob from his side of the sawed-up box and accompanying him backstage. He'll stay there for the final 15 minutes, then we'll get together again and head home. At least, that's the plan. I have an app on my phone that lets me track Rob's phone location, and our parents insisted that we should leave it running in the background all day. He's backstage and has been sitting there for a few minutes, but all of a sudden he starts moving. I try not to worry. It's probably just someone taking him to the point where he'll meet me. And it's not like he's walked far. 20 yards maybe, if that. Maybe he's gone through one door into a nicer room than the first one they took him to. The whole not worrying thing gets hard when his location marker disappears altogether. A red X appears in its place, then turns into a flashing exclamation mark. Sudden interruption, reads the accompanying warning message. User could not be found. Okay, that's enough. There might be a show going on and there's almost certainly nothing bad going on, but I hightail it down the steps and rush directly across the stage in the direction the robot took Rob. It's the fastest way, and unlike earlier, I'm not even thinking about how I look, let alone feeling embarrassed. Once I cross the stage, ignoring the stagehand who asks what the hell I'm doing, I look at my phone to make sure I take the right door to end up where Rob's location stopped transmitting. It's so dark behind the stage, I can start to see why he might have moved. He's always been terrified of the dark, and if they left him alone here, I'm surprised he made it so long. I feel like an idiot. I should have made sure I was backstage by the time he got here, but I just didn't think there would be any kind of problem. I have to pass 3 doors to reach the room where he shouldn't be, and my heart stops when I get inside and see that he's not in it. From the stillness of the shock, I suddenly feel my heart beating in the roof of my mouth with no word of exaggeration. I'm just about to leave this horribly empty room when my foot feels something on the floor. I look down and see some kind of manhole-style cutout in the flooring. My first thought is that if he's gone down there alone, I'll never forgive him for being so stupid and putting me through this worry. That lasts all of a split second, though, because I know I'll be too busy being glad he's okay to think about anything else. I lift the cover and look down. "Rob?" I call. No reply. No reply, but also no echo, which strikes me as weird. I aim my phone's flashlight down the hole and see a very bizarre kind of reflection effect. What the... I belatedly notice a makeshift ladder on one side of the hole, made of roughly cut strips of wood. This is where his location stopped transmitting, and it looks like the kind of place where a phone would stop receiving any satellite or data signals, so I hurry down. I'll just get to the bottom and look. Then if he's not here, I'm going to make damn sure that every emergency procedure for a missing child goes into effect immediately. 3 steps down, I see that my flashlight beam is reflecting even more oddly. It's like there's something there, across the hole, but there's not. Is there? I take a coin out of my pocket and drop it. It falls through, but doesn't make any sound at the bottom. This is too damn weird, but the last thing I have is time to think about it, so I keep going. Another 3 steps later, I'm hit by the oddest sensation of my life. I feel weightless in the truest sense of the word, and then I feel my shoulders hit the ground with a thud. My eyes close, wincing at the pain, but my mind is running a mile a minute. Landing on my shoulders is weird as hell when I was going feet first. But as weirdness goes, all of that is absolutely nothing compared to what I see when I open my eyes. Chapter 5. He's here. Rob is here. 10 seconds ago, that was the only thing I would have cared about, but every part of my being is now utterly transfixed on the big question. Just where the hell is here? The ground and walls are concrete, and the cracks in the far wall are letting in what looks more like moonlight than anything electrical. Rob runs to my side as soon as he sees me. As soon as I fall? Arrive? Pass through whatever that weird thing in the hole even was? "I'm sorry," he says. "I was scared of the dark, and then when I moved out of the waiting area, I saw a guy walking through a door, and he looked just like..." A thunderous boom cuts off Rob's words. I pull him in close. "Don't worry about that," I tell him. "We're together now. We just need to get back." I glance up to the hole I fell through. It's there, this time in the ceiling rather than the floor, but it's way too high to reach. I shine my flashlight up and see the same kind of weird reflective effect as before, only this time, there are no ladder struts. This time, there's no way to get to it. "We'll figure something out," I promise. I can't pretend I'm not feeling helpless and terrified, without even thinking about what caused the insanely loud boom a few seconds ago, but I have to try to keep a clear head. "We just need something tall, something high. If we don't find it, we'll make it. There must be another way out of here anyway, even if this is the only other hole. There must be something that could at least lead us to something that we can climb. There must be a..." "Door," Rob cuts in. He's pointing at it, making clear that he'd already seen it but thought better than to go through it. This time, at least. Better late than never on the decision-making. Am I scared to open the door? Yes. Is the fear dampened by the fact that not opening it is quite literally not an option? Slightly. I pull Rob behind me and walk forward. With no dramatic pause, I push the door open. It's so heavy, like none I've ever felt, but I manage to move it. And just like that, we're outside. The light we saw was moonlight, but there are also what look like gas lamps lighting a cobbled street. Rob runs in front of me, his face lighting up. "Another zone! Did you know about this?" he asks. I gulp and shake my head. "Maybe it's not open yet," he muses. "Maybe this is the Halloween world I heard about." That's above ground in a self-contained building, I tell him. Unless this is its basement or something, but the sky looks way too real. And why would there be a hole in the floor of a random room like that? It doesn't make any sense. This time it's me who gets cut off by a deafening boom. But this time, since we're outside, we hear what comes next. A blood-curdling scream. "Whoa!" Rob says, still smiling. "This must be the Halloween zone." He leads me forward, looking at the app on his phone. "I don't have any service down here, but at least we know we're going to find someone to help us get back to the amphitheater," he goes on. It's not that I don't share his confidence. I'm just taking a lot longer to process all of this than he is. There are a bunch of small buildings that look like some of the ones on the surface, but everything feels different down here. It feels a different kind of real. That might be down to the smell, I figure, which is flat out terrible, but the bizarrely convincing moonlight is really throwing me off, especially since nothing at Dream Rock is supposed to be fake. I'm taking in as much as I can, but I'm so focused on everything at either side of the cobbled street that I don't notice Rob stop walking. I bump into him, at which point he shushes me with a great deal of urgency. "Look," he mouths, pointing through a gap between two buildings up ahead. It looks like the center of a village square, but the reason for our quietness is that it's full of people. They're all dressed like we are, naturally enough for yesteryear, but what they're doing is anything but standard. When I see it, I move in front of Rob and tell him to look away. If this is the scary Halloween area, maybe being used for rehearsals right now, they had better not allow kids in when it opens. Call me old-fashioned, but execution should not be entertainment, and there's a line Dream Rock shouldn't cross. I get that it makes sense, since that kind of thing used to go on back here in the olden times, but they certainly won't be roping me into working on any robotics that will be involved in this kind of thing. I don't know how many of the people I see are real, but I guess it's just a few to keep tabs on the robot actors. One robot is currently positioned in a huge guillotine, and what I assume is a robot executioner is about to do the deed. I cover Rob's eyes and keep standing in front of him, making sure he doesn't see, but a morbid curiosity keeps me watching. I wonder how the robotic head will detach. Will they use some kind of basic adhesive? When the blade falls, we hear another boom, but we also hear another scream. And then I hear another, my own, because with every fiber of my being, I'm certain beyond doubt that that was no robotic head. Robots don't bleed, and they don't go limp like that. My scream catches the attention of everyone in the square, and the way they turn has me realizing, whatever crazy truth this means, that they're not robots either. "Run," I say to Rob, even though I have no idea where to go. We set off to the left instead of straight ahead towards the execution area or straight back to the empty room we came from. We run behind a row of stone block buildings, hoping for some kind of refuge, but after only 10 or 20 paces off the main street, we find the opposite. With two burly hands, an unseen man silences both of our mouths from behind. I wouldn't know what to yell or who to call for help anyway, but the helplessness of being lost and wanted feels nothing compared to this new helplessness of being caught. I struggle but can't break free. When I turn, the man is wearing a hood. Whoever he is, he has us in his grasp. And then my heart all but stops beating, because I realize where I've seen that hood before. He's the executioner. Chapter 6. With an executioner physically restraining both me and my little brother, I can only think of one thing to do. I swing a hard knee into the man's crotch, catching him out and sending him stumbling back in pain. I look around for a weapon and see what looks like an iron bar just behind him. Probably his, I figure, and I grab it without hesitation. "No," he says, still doubled over. He waves a hand that looks more like it's telling me to be quiet than to put the bar down, then uses the same hand to rip off his hood. Rob gasps. "Chuck Baskins?" Wait, I know that name. Chuck Baskins, the crazy energy field guy? The guy who tried to block development on Brown Island? What? Why? How? "I'll explain everything," Chuck whispers.
but we have to get inside before they see where we're going. Trust me, okay? Kid, you know me, so you've got to trust me, right?
Rob is as dumbstruck as I am.
I take it you guys work at Yesteryear? Chuck asks.
I gulp, still fighting for some iota of an idea as to what's going on here. I do, I tell him. My brother is just a regular visitor today. The crazy old man nods.
Well, it's a good thing you're both dressed up at least, in case the locals did see you. If you'd been in modern clothes, that could have caused all kinds of rippling issues down the line.
What did he just say?
We need to get back,
Rob says. I don't know if he didn't hear what Chuck just said or if he's taking it in his stride a lot more easily than I am, but he hasn't even flinched.
I'm already in trouble, but I don't want to get Paula in trouble too. We have a curfew, and if we're late...
Chuck, recovered from the worst of my unceremonious knee attack, rubs his chin in thought.
Yeah, about that, he begins.
I gulp. Rob narrows his eyes in a way that tells me it really hasn't clicked in his mind yet.
Well,
Chuck says, shooting me a knowing and regretful look that all but confirms I didn't pick up the wrong end of the stick as to what kind of door we just fell through.
Now that you guys are here, you're not late for anything. You're 139 years early.
Chapter 7. Sometimes knowing that something is about to be said doesn't lessen the effect of hearing it. Needless to say, this is one of those times.
You made a time machine?
Rob asks, having the sense and awareness to keep his voice down. We're running with Chuck now, realizing that he's our only hope of ever seeing our own world again. It's not easy running in this outfit, either, as if I needed something else to worry about.
It's more of a gate than a machine, Chuck says, panting as he runs. And the bulk of it was already here. It's all quite... Look, I'll tell you when we're sheltered, okay?
We dutifully follow his lead without another word, and it's only a minute or so until he leads us into a building that looks basic and decrepit even compared to the others. It might be momentary and it might be fleeting, but the relief I feel when he closes the door behind us is only too real. It didn't seem like anyone was following us towards the end, and maybe he was right that our time-appropriate outfits saved our skin. 139 years, he said. Yeah, wandering around in jeans and high tops would have made us just a little more conspicuous. Take that, Maddie. Damn if I'm not glad I didn't let her snideness keep me out of this costume. But yeah, I can confirm it now. The relief was momentary. The relief was fleeting. Talk, I demand. And talk Chuck does.
I've never been here while there are others outside, he says. I've been dozens of times, conducting tests and bringing supplies for bigger tests, but I've never been unlucky enough to come while there was an execution. They must have just come over from the mainland today because none of them were here last night.
I quickly glance around the barn-like building, following the hand gesture Chuck made when he mentioned supplies. Sure enough, there's a whole bunch of modern equipment. Battery packs, a computer, high-energy snacks, some kind of water filtration system, and a lot of scientific instrumentation that I don't recognize.
But back to the time machine,
Rob says, understandably focused on the core issue. Chuck shakes his head.
It's not a machine, son. Do you know anything about this island besides the commercial mess they've made of it? Do you know about the energy fields? The vortex? I wrote a paper on it for school, Rob says.
He was obsessed with you, I confirm. Chuck doesn't really react to this other than looking slightly relieved that his explanation might not have to start at square zero. He doesn't seem like a man with a lot of ego to him.
Well, I spent a lot of time here, Chuck tells us, before they started building. All of those hippies were onto something with the energy talk, you know, because this island really is like nowhere else on Earth. I came out here with official research teams and we couldn't work out what we were looking at in the data, but we knew we were looking at something. We knew there was something seriously weird happening here, even if modern science couldn't explain it and our modern equipment couldn't make sense of it.
I gulp.
It's interesting stuff, but maybe you could tell us how to get home and tell us the details on the other side? I hear you, he says. There are some things you need to know, though. Like how time passes on each side? Rob chimes in. Is there a problem with where we'll arrive back? Or with when we'll arrive back? Damn, I hadn't even thought of that. But Chuck shakes his head. Phew, one relief at least. If you spend an hour on this side, an hour has passed at home when you get back. There's no issue there. I've done various tests with spoilable food, live plants, atomic clocks. Everything is more straightforward in that respect than some of the old sci-fi stories might have had us guessing. So how do you know what year it is? Rob asks. You said we're 139 years in the past, but it sounds like you know you can't interact with anyone here, right? Because of the whole butterfly effect and time paradox deals? Smart kid, Chuck says to me before turning back to Rob. Tell me about it. Anyway, he goes on, speaking to both of us, I've taken a lot of pictures of the stars and planets, noting the time, things like that. Modern technology being what it is, one of my apps knows when everything in the sky last lined up like this. I didn't break through until after the park opened, but I've been working on the time gate for about 7 years. I cut into the floor of a room up there after they built the arena, but I don't know how you guys found it. I did everything I could to make the cover seamless. I saw you go down, Rob reveals. I saw someone hurrying around, looking all secretive, and then I saw you. When I got to that room, you were still putting the cover back in place. I ran over to it, and you're right. I couldn't even see the seam, so I can see why no one else has. But I knew it was there, so I felt around until I found it. Then I shimmied it open. And didn't put it back down the whole way, I say. Good thing, too, otherwise I never would have found it. But Chuck, seriously, how do you get around the security here? I work on Dream Rock every weekend, and we get frisked like crazy. Even regular guests need ID checks. If you visit often, and I guess you must when you've been collecting supplies, how aren't you flagged up? And how do you get stuff like computers in? He looks uncomfortable for the first time. I honestly think it's better if I don't implicate you in everything, but I have a few people on the inside. Or, more accurately, I have the assistance of a few people on the inside. I didn't put anyone in place, I just greased a few palms so I could get stuff in on delivery trucks, that kind of thing. No one knows what I'm doing, and as for getting in past security every day, I haven't actually left the park in the past 4 months. I live here. There's a small pillow and a small blanket, but no bed. Why someone with the resources Chuck seems to have would live here, I don't think I could ever understand. He sees the question on my face. This is a jackpot I never dreamed of, he says. When everything clicked in my mind, all I had to do was fire up some polarity inverters and throw the right kind of rays at each side of the vortex. The basis of the gate was already there. Talking about jackpots, think of a lotto scratcher. The numbers are already there, you just need the right kind of object and the right kind of energy, a coin and some kinetic force, and you can see what was once hidden. It's not a perfect metaphor, but I'm trying. It's not like I invented time travel is what I'm saying. I discovered it. For all we know, this is the only gate in the world, and by some weird kink of universal happenstance, it connects with the same location 139 years in the past. I didn't build a time machine and set its dial to 139, you know? That's all I mean. I don't even know what to say. I mean, it is pretty much a time machine, isn't it? I'm lost in this talk of polarity inverters and whatever kind of rays he fired at the vortex. I know robots, a little bit of computing, but not this. I see Rob nodding, though, and suddenly feel pretty foolish for internally rolling my eyes at the weird books he's always reading about crazy stuff like this. Well, not exactly like this, but he has been interested in time travel and vortices for a few years. Ironically enough, that interest began largely thanks to the very same mad scientist who's responsible for bringing us here. Ah, here it is. Now the anger is hitting me. He did this. Chuck did this. He did whatever he did to the vortex. He cut a hole in the floor of a room in yesteryear so he could keep accessing it. and he led my little brother down into this nightmare. Unwittingly or not, he did it. But it's not that easy to shift all of the blame. I can't shake my feelings of guilt for not being backstage when Rob finished his volunteering during the show. The more I think about it, the more I wonder why it wasn't the most obvious idea in the world. I should have been there, but I wasn't. And now we're here. Take us home, I say. Please. And I don't mean to sound like a whatever, but Chuck, this has to stop before you cause a problem you can't undo. If someone from the past sees you, or finds this computer, or whatever else, what then? It has to end. We all have to go back to the present. We all have to go home. Chuck, seriously. This has to end. He nods, but there's something in his eyes I don't like. He doesn't look evasive. It's more like troubled. I settle on troubled. I admit this has probably gone as far as it can go, he says. I won't fight you on that. But the other part, the part about all of us going home. Yes, I say. He swallows hard and fights his evident unease to keep looking me in the eye. Well, the thing about that is, we can't. Chapter 8. It's been a long day. It's been a crazy few minutes. I fell pretty hard when I came through the gate, and I might have hit my head. It turns out these are the things a mind tells itself when the truth it's hearing is as unpalatable as what Chuck just told me. We can't go home? I ask. Explode might be a better verb than ask, in all honesty, but really, can you blame me? We can't all go home, Chuck qualifies. I'm not sure how relieved I should be about this caveat quite yet, because I don't know what it means. My expression implores him to continue. He blows air from his lips. I could spend all night talking you through this, but you only want the basics, right? At least for now? Basic as it gets, I impatiently reply. Okay, he says. You guys got through because the gate was open, and that was because I just came back through. I'd been up there getting some stuff from a delivery truck, which I always do when the show is on and everyone's attention is on the stage. The gate on that side will be gone by now. The polarity inversion lasts for a few minutes and no more. So normally the gate isn't just there like a big hole, waiting for someone to fall through it. I gesture for him to keep going. He does. And the thing is, coming through the gate when it's not already open, like I did just before you two, isn't as straightforward. I wore a 2-layer protective suit the first time, just to be cautious. I didn't know if anything was going to happen, let alone what, or let alone where and when I'd end up. But yeah, it was fine. Next time, though, when I pushed myself through the gate, I didn't realize I had torn one of the suit's feet. And this is what happened. He rolls up his trouser leg and takes off his shoe to show us to show us what should be his foot. But there are no toes, just a horribly blackened stump. The energy rays aren't to be messed with, he says. That was with 1 layer of my suit still intact, remember. I only have 1 double suit between the 3 of us. But wait, Rob interjects. If you go back to the present by, pushing through the gate again, won't the gate then still be there for long enough to get through without a suit, like we did this time? Chuck shakes his head. I like the way you think, youngster, but I'm afraid it's a no. If I knew why it worked like this, I'd maybe have a solution to it. But unfortunately, the gate only stays open for a little while coming this way, not going back to the present. One of us can go home. I'm not even staking a claim, but this 1 suit isn't enough for the 2 of you. I couldn't recommend you risk wearing 1 layer each, either. No way. So why can't you just get more suits? I ask. We've got some water here, some energy bars. Can't you just go and get more suits? Get a delivery tomorrow? Chuck's expression sinks even lower. It didn't come from a store, sweetheart. I made it, and the labor alone was 3 days after 2 weeks of waiting for the various parts. It's blocking all kinds of rays, and the trouble is I don't know which ones did the damage to my foot when the suit was pierced, so I can't cut any corners and focus on certain elements. I'd have to make 2 just the same. With the best will in the world, we're looking at 3 weeks, and I'm not confident my supplies would see you through that amount of time down here. I could strangle him right now. I swear to God, I'm not a violent person, but I could strangle this man for doing this. You left a time gate open in a busy theme park where there were kids walking around. I lambast him. He doesn't respond. You did that. You. And now you're telling me you can't get us out? Rob steps in to say that Chuck didn't mean for this to happen, as if that makes it any better, and I don't even have the energy to argue. I slump to the floor.
Can't one of us just go back in the suit, then take it off and throw it through the open gate?
Rob asks. And I'll tell you what, it's a good question. I turn to Chuck for the answer, but the crux of it comes before he even opens his mouth. Spoiler alert, it's no. I've tried throwing things down and it doesn't work, he says. They have to be physically connected to me, on my person or in something I'm holding, like a suitcase or a bag. I've tested different things and I've tested different ways of coming down, but my leg has to come before any objects. Something has to pass slowly. Throwing stuff doesn't work. If we don't think of anything, Rob is going home. I'll see to that. He can tell everyone there are still 2 of us down here and they can put their best minds on it, but he's getting home. Do you have a ladder or something to reach the gate from the room where we landed? I suddenly ask Chuck, as soon as the question pops into my head. He nods. Yeah, I stole it from the dock a while ago and I keep it hidden when I'm down here. Why? You got an idea? I don't, and there's scant comfort from having that minor query answered. You know, I really don't want anyone to know about this, Chuck says, speaking just as suddenly as I had a minute earlier. I always knew it was dangerous, with the whole paradox and butterfly effect like your brother mentioned, but I never got close to the locals until tonight. And I've had a solitary life. I'm not saying lonely because I chose it, but definitely solitary. Seeing you 2 down here, caught up in this, that brings a lot of things home. It's one thing to think about causing problems for the world and future generations in an abstract sense, but seeing you kids in my mess like this, it really hits home. So even if you did want to split the suits and try with 1 each, and even if you made it, I wouldn't want you telling anyone that old Chuck is still down here, okay? I've got to say, that's pretty noble of him. I'm not too hot on his idea of splitting the suits, though, what with what happened to his foot when 1 layer was broken. It seems likely to me that the layers might not be identical and really 1 is doing the work, and there's no way we can take a risk like that. The working one is surely the one that ripped, because patching it up made a difference while the other being intact offered no protection. So really I think we have 1 working layer and 1 comfort blanket layer, so effectively there is no option to split them. Rob asks a few questions about why Chuck is so worried about anyone in the present finding out about the gate. And Chuck's first answer is that it would probably be weaponized in a way that made every problem the world has faced to date look like a walk in the park.
And even aside from that,
he says, the people running the monstrosity of a theme park up there would turn this place into a ride. Visit the locals, get some selfies, you name it. They'll commercialize everything, no stone unturned. I've seen what they're capable of up there with the robots and everything else. What does your sister work on, anyway? The robots, I blurt out at the same time as Rob. That's it. The robots. Premature celebration? Maybe. But from the depths of despair, at least I have an idea. Chapter 9. You know something? Chuck muses as I tell him what I'm thinking. Part of that idea is so crazy, it just might work. My plan is pretty simple. You know, as far as plans that involve using a robot to rescue people stranded on the wrong side of a time gate go. Basically, we can send Rob back to the present inside the safety of the double suit and give him foolproof instructions for how to send the suit back with one of my humanoid robots. They're easy to control and program, and some of them are walking around in the backstage area near the gate. As I start to talk through this, though, I hear it sounding slightly less straightforward out loud than it did in my head. The expression on Rob's face tells me that he's thinking the same thing.
It's a good idea,
He says.
but I can't do it.
Exactly what I was thinking, Chuck chimes in. That's what I meant about part of the idea being crazy enough to work. But you are the expert. Leaving your brother to try to wrangle one of those high-tech robots into the gate? That part's just crazy. Rob is nodding and my heart hurts like never before. I'm not leaving you, I insist. I just can't. I know they're going to say it. That I should go back in the suit and send a robot down. They'll say it could wear the suit and come back with it. Then I could send the robot back with the suit again so Chuck can get back too. But I can't leave Rob down there. What if something went wrong? I share these thoughts out loud, to the letter, seconds after they pass through my mind.
But something has already gone wrong,
Rob says.
and if you send me, there's almost no way I'll manage to put them right. But you can, Paula. You can.
I look to Chuck. I don't even know why, but I do.
If sending a robot with the suit doesn't work, you can ask around for help,
the mad scientist says.
That's your call and your prerogative. But from where I'm sitting, based on the tests I've done, I don't see why a large humanoid robot won't be enough to trigger the gate so long as it's holding the key. You can even put the robot in the suit if you're worried the electrics would fry and it'd get stuck otherwise. It'll fit, after all.
This is the first mention of a key, but it doesn't seem like something to fixate on at this stage. Chuck throws me the suit. It's not like a spacesuit, but I can't think of anything else it's more like. Hell, it's a time suit. There, I said it. It guards against whatever incredible rays and polar inversions make the gate work like it does, if work is an appropriate word for this, and the time for analyzing how this all works is definitely not now.
Paula, I'm not going,
Rob says.
I'll mess up if I do. I'm sorry I got us into this, but this is the hand we've been dealt, and you're the only one who can play it.
Nodding like a metronome, Chuck holds my eyes. He's right. And listen, like I said, you can ask for help if you need to. But we do have supplies down here, and I can pilfer more when the locals are gone. Only a few of them live on the island outside of the prisoners, and a few guards. Most of the ones you saw tonight just come over for the executions, and they don't happen often. I've gotten good at sneaking around, but that's only if I need to. All I'm saying is, we're good for a few weeks, and I could see us good for longer if you run into any hiccups. But I don't think you will. You couldn't have gotten a job working on robots at that place if you weren't the best of the best, right? And what's the point of being the best if you don't put it to use when it counts most? He's trying to psych me up, but that's not going to work. That's not the kind of thing that's going to swing me. What does have a chance is Rob's insistence that he's not leaving, and his calm statement that I'm the only one who can play this hand. A few seconds later, I settle on the inevitability of what I'm facing. Okay, I gulp. But Rob, I got us into this by leaving you alone backstage, and he got us into this by having the gate open when a child was in the area. None of this is on you. Rob smiles weakly. Chuck doesn't argue with my point about shared blame because he's far too busy being glad that I changed my mind. Now that it's decided, we're instantly abuzz with activity. Chuck gathers some things from the floor of this isolated storage room he's furtively claimed as a shelter, then peeks outside and tells us the coast is clear. We run back to the room we started in, hearing hollers from the execution viewing crowd who seem to have forgotten about ever hearing our screams. Chuck explains that they probably thought we were the children of the guards or of visiting officials or something, reiterating that our era-appropriate outfits really might have saved our lives and a lot more besides. When we arrive, Chuck grabs the ladder from outside while I get into the suit. He helps me to double-check that it's absolutely secure and then gives me a matchbox-sized device, the key, which he says will engage the latent energy in the vortex and which must be kept outside of my suit. He's been insistent that there's no time machine here, but if there is, then this is effectively the key to firing it up. Good to go, he says once I'm safely suited and holding the key. I turn to Rob.
To say this is the hardest goodbye I've ever made is no exaggeration, even though I hope to see him again in a matter of minutes. In fact, it's because of that hope. The uncertainty. I'd like to feel like the outcome is in my hands, but it's not really. I can fail, by doing something wrong with the robots or even with my own ascent back to the present. But can I really succeed? I can do everything right, but even then success is at the mercy of the gate and how it reacts to the robot. What I mean is I can be wholly responsible for failure, but nothing I do can guarantee success. It might seem like a small distinction, but it's making a tough situation feel even tougher.
Just go, Rob says. I've had the best day ever, and it's all because of you and your robots. Let's just finish it off with one more big moment, okay? I believe in you.
So calm for one so young. I really feel like I lucked out having him as a little brother, and even though I've never been mean to him like a lot of older siblings can be, I can't help but regret the few times that stick in my mind when I was short-tempered or impatient. See you soon, I say. Both of you. And Chuck, I do mean both, okay? Rob and then you. Not Rob and then no one.
One thing at a time,
Chuck says.
I shoot him an intense stare.
Chuck. He gulps.
Okay, I promise. For real, I'll come after him when you send the suit down again.
All suited up and ready to go, I climb Chuck's ladder and wait for something to happen. Something good, I hasten to add, but anything would be a start. Chapter 10. Last time we went feet first, naturally, since we were climbing down. This time, I lose focus and awareness of my surroundings as soon as my eyes reach the level where the flashlight was bouncing off. The level of the gate. The next thing I know, I'm on the floor of the empty room backstage in yesteryear. Home. In the present. It worked! Step 1, done. The room is empty, too. I take my suit off and calmly step outside. No one is around in the immediate area, so I walk slowly to the nearest command center. The show is over and the park will be closing up any time, which is why no one is inside. I don't know what the people backstage will have made of my dash across the stage during a live show or where they think I've gone, but apparently there's no search party. I scan my hand on the biometric security lock and enter the room, where several humanoid robots are kept overnight. It's eerie how still they stand, but before long I have a remote control in my hand and Bot 3C is walking beside me back to the gate room. One of the colleagues who is actually nice to me around here is an Irish woman called Jill, and she always says 3C in a way that kind of sounds like Tracy, so we've both taken to calling 3C by that name. Tracy. The other humanoid bots have names we all know along with their numbers, too. There are few enough of them for that to be viable, and Tracy sees a lot of work in the jousting contests. A lot of the time she works autonomously, utilizing the cutting-edge artificial intelligence she's been given. But right now she's at my absolute beck and call. If she had a brain of her own, she'd surely be wondering what the hell I'm doing as I start to dress her in the protective suit. From there, I don't waste any time at all. I just guide her towards the hole, the all-important key clasped tightly in her hand, then use the large remote control to make her descend 1 foot at a time. I don't know if this will work next time, saving Chuck after Rob, because Tracy's legs might be damaged by the fall. That's a problem I'll be glad to have, though, because it'll mean everything else has worked until that point. Nothing happens for longer than I'd like, even as Tracy dutifully descends, but all of a sudden the light from her empty hand's inbuilt flashlight is reflecting off something. The gate. The key is working. Tracy is working! And just like that, she's gone. I've reactivated her autonomous decision-making module, but programmed an overriding instruction to physically follow whoever takes the suit from her. I don't know why it ever crossed my mind that Rob could have done this. Because although it didn't take many steps, it did take a thorough understanding of how our robots operate and how to give them adaptive instructions. With Tracy gone, my heart is racing even faster than it was a few seconds ago. It's so odd. This is what I wanted to happen. A good start, but I feel even more tense now. I think it's because I've done my part. I've done all I can. The rest is up to Tracy. Up to Chuck. Up to fate. I don't want to put anything on Rob because he's too young for all of this. I just want to put my arms around him when he comes up through that gate, and I want it to happen right now. I focus on my breathing and try to play a game with myself, only to look at my watch every 30 seconds. I tell myself if I can make it, he'll appear. Trust me, this is easier said than done. One time I look after 7 seconds that I could have sworn was 30, and after 5 or 6 attempts I start to get really worried. I turn away and close my eyes. Just as I'm about to look down, I hear a noise, and when I turn back towards the gate I see the most welcome sight of my life. It's Rob, and he's moving. He's okay. I hurry over and help him out of the suit. While I'm there, Tracy appears behind him, seeming to fall upwards but never falling beyond the floor, if that makes any kind of sense. It didn't make much sense to see, so I'm not going to beat myself up for not being able to describe it.
You did it,
Rob says. We did it, I correct him, busily redressing Tracy in the suit as soon as Rob is out of it. I send her back down without any further delay, giving Chuck the chance to live up to his word. I'll be honest, I don't know if he will.
He's coming, Rob says. He promised me right before I left. He's going to bring everything back with him, so long as you can guarantee this room will be safe and undisturbed overnight. Until he arranges something with a delivery driver to quietly ship it all out of here. He was worried people might be looking for us tonight since we went missing.
They don't seem to be, I say, but I don't think much about that. I'm a trusted employee, so it's not like I'm a security risk even if I did run across the stage. We'll be checking out at the exit anyway, since there's a security guard there all night. And from that point, my whereabouts won't be any kind of mystery. I don't say much to Rob in the face of this mystery we're still trying to make sense of, and apart from the initial greeting and expressions of relief, I don't think he says a single thing to me until the next disturbance of the gate. Part of me expects to see Tracy, but no, it's Chuck. Tracy follows close behind, but the real story is that Chuck was true to his word. He unzips the helmet-style section of his suit to look and talk to us clearly.
I'll get everything up, and it'll all be out of here by this time tomorrow. No one has to know a thing. I almost ruined both of your lives tonight, and I'm done. I'm not going to give you the key that activates the gate's latent powers. I'm going to destroy it once I've removed all traces of our presence on the other side of the gate.
Wise, I say. Chuck nods.
But I'm a man of science, so I can't destroy my data. Kid. Rob, was it? Rob Frederick, my brother says. Well, Rob Frederick, I'm going to give every ounce and every terabyte of my data to you, and one day you might find a better use for it than I could ever dream. I have no doubt you could make another key to harness the power of this vortex into a gate once more, but that will be for you to determine. In any case, my data will arrive safely in your mailbox at home. Don't worry about that. Neither of you will ever see me again, so this is going to be goodbye. But before that, it's going to be, I'm sorry. Truly, I can't imagine what you've been through. I know I was there too, but there's not a lot for me on this side. You two have bright lives to lead and many discoveries to make. Godspeed, you hear? Godspeed. With that, Chuck Baskins reseals his suit and crosses the gate once more to gather his next batch of equipment. Rob stares at the gate for about 10 seconds after Chuck disappears, then turns to me. I lead him out of the door, making sure no one sees us so Chuck's night of moving equipment around isn't disturbed. Chuck seemed very sure of all that, and I'm sure he's scouted the security setup pretty well, so I won't worry on that front. When we reach the fresh air of the outside world, the moon feels particularly bright. There are still some guests milling around because we're not quite at closing time yet, which makes our exit a whole lot easier. I don't even realize that I'm still wearing my outfit until the security guard at the underwater train terminal mentions it. I know him from work and he knows I was off today, so he makes a well-intentioned joke about how much I must love it here if I'm deciding to take my work home. There are worse places to work, Phil, I reply with a smile. We don't have to wait in any line for the train this time. It's the regular train, since the Bullet sub only runs one way, and the lateness of the hour means it's pretty quiet inside, too. The carriage is dark, unlike on our initial journey to the island this morning. Rob leans into my shoulder as we set off, at a steady and unspectacular pace.
You know,
He says,
part of me keeps expecting you to tell me that Chuck and the Gate were all part of the big Dream Rock show, like the sharks and the water leak this morning. I thought that was real for a minute, too.
if we were to tell anyone about this, I bet that's what they'd think, I say, laughing along with him. He obviously wasn't serious either. Obviously, but it's funny to think about.
Do you think Chuck will really send me his data?
Rob asks after a few seconds of silence. I nod. He seems like a man of his word. Why? What do you think he'll do with it? Make another key?
Hell no,
He says, so loudly it startles some of our fellow passengers. Rob holds up a hand in apology and lowers his voice to a whisper.
It's like the TV commercial says. There's no time like the present, and there's no place like yesteryear. I say we leave the past as a place we can visit in our memories, our imaginations, and in the coolest theme park ever built. Don't you think so too?
I sure do, kiddo, I tell him, breathing a deep sigh of relief to know he doesn't want to take up where the well-intentioned but reckless Chuck Baskins left off. I sure do. The end. Thank you for listening to Yesteryear, written by Craig A. Falconer, narrated by Megan Carter. Text and production copyright 2021 by Craig Falconer. All rights reserved.